It's actually insane how each episode of this half of Attack on Titan's third season just keeps on getting better and better. I believe that a big part of that is obviously due how Studio Wits and the staff working on this series have gone on about adapting the source material. You can just tell that there's a big deal of respect for the work that Isayama has been working on for the past, 9, going on 10 years now? And not to discredit any of the previous episodes of Season 3, they were all magnificent and wonderful adaptations, and the episodes during the first half had some great alterations, but I believe that this episode really demonstrates that respect for the source material that I speak of. For instance, this episode covers chapters 83 and 84. Now, if you did not watch my discussion for last week's episode, I'll leave a link to it in the description, and it will also be in the end screen if you want to watch it after this. But essentially, the first few pages of chapter 83 are covered at the end of episode 54, the content covered there being the flashback Eren has of Armin. So with that being in last week's episode, it means that the adaptation of this series' 21st volume began last week, even if it was just a tiny bit. And again, I won't show you this volume cover as it could be considered a bit of a spoiler. I myself don't, but I'd rather not risk it. Well, anyway, in this episode here, we have the continuation of chapter 83, titled Cleaver. A chapter that alone has so many amazing moments that look as beautiful as you would have expected them to. But there's more to this first half of the episode, apart from the look of how certain panels were adapted that made it a wonderful adaptation. Simply said, there were some brilliant directorial decisions made this episode. The cinematography throughout the entirety of the episode was amazing. The seiyus, once again, as expected, put on a ridiculous performance. The music, when a track was playing, really had what I imagine would have been their intended effects. And while we're on the topic of music, sometimes not having any is the best for certain scenes, and I absolutely loved how the scoreless, almost first half of the episode felt. Now, chapter 84 obviously continued all of that, and also had its fair share of moments that were adapted beautifully into the anime. A chapter titled Midnight Sun, and I do have a quote from Isayama where he explains the reasoning behind this title, and it is as follows. The basic idea of the title is that the sky is bright even in a dark night. Bright, like the sun does not set. In other words, ERWIN's death means the sun has set, but in fact, it still feels like the sun never sets. I believe ERWIN being the sun in this case, and the sun setting referring to the death of the sun, or the death of ERWIN. Though saying that the sun never sets, even in a dark night, could be referring to how influential ERWIN has been to humanity, and how despite his death, the role he played in all of this will not be forgotten. This is from a Q&A session Isayama had last year, I do believe, and a link to the fully translated session will be in the description if you care to read it. Now, moving on, there's quite obviously a lot going on this episode. I mean, we had Zeke pull up and tell Eren that he is also a victim of his father, or whatever the fuck that means, and that he would one day come and save him. Like, literally plot-changing events. And despite that, the focus, all that is being talked about in this episode, really revolves around Moblet dying. Just kidding, obviously, but Moblet is an underrated character who deserves a lot of love, so give Moblet some love. In reality, the episode revolves around ERWIN, Armin, the people closest to them, Levi, and his responsibility to make the call on who to use the Titan Serum on. Does Levi save the closest thing he's had to a friend, whom also happens to be the reason why humanity has even made it this far? Or does he save Armin, a member from his squad, someone who has his own merits as a tactician, and a person whose potential death will also be a big blow for humanity. If you recall my discussion on episode 53, you know about Levi, his tendency to avoid making big decisions, and why he chooses to do so. And unfortunately for Levi, in a span of 2 episodes, he's had to make the decision to send one of his last remaining friends to his death. And now, before him, another decision has to be made. Does Levi want to follow through with the choice he made 2 episodes ago? Now, you can make whatever argument you want, but strictly from a moral perspective, one where you don't take into consideration humanity's prosperity, I have to agree with Levi's decision to bring back Armin. Not only would bringing ERWIN back probably put him in a worse mental spot than he was before. I mean, we already know of the guilt he feels for all the previous scouts that have died under his command. But imagine leading a charge when you ordered where you knew, or at least thought, death was certain, and being one of the 2 people who survived. ERWIN is a cool character, and the way he handles himself in any given situation speaks to his caliber as a commander. But I honestly do not know how ERWIN would react to getting brought back after becoming this demon and leading more of his troops to their deaths. I don't know, in my eyes, the Titan Serum is supposed to bring about one miracle. It gives one person another shot at life. And I just feel like if that miracle would have been used up on ERWIN, to him it would end up feeling more like a curse than anything else. Because remember, it's not a paradise these people are coming back to. They made that quite clear this episode. It's a special type of hell, one that doesn't get any easier and grows more and more complex by the second. And for Levi, well, bringing ERWIN back would have meant that Levi regrets the decision he made during episode 54, and there's significance to that if you've watched the No Regrets OVA. Something else Levi saw, this time from the flashbacks, was ERWIN's determination, but that determination felt as if it was for a single goal. ERWIN has been a ridiculously useful asset to humankind because he hasn't met his goal. ERWIN sees nothing past what lies in the basement. It's almost as if his purpose, his life, ends when he finds out about the truth of this world. I don't know, I just feel like at the end of the day, somebody always loses. But I truly believe Levi made the best choice for ERWIN's sake. Though I hope this decision is not one Levi keeps on replaying over and over and over in his head. Because the life ERWIN would have come back to would have been one filled with regrets and empty of meaning. And really, it doesn't get much worse than that. But hey, as always, these are my thoughts, and I'm curious to read yours. If you're an anime only, let me know how you felt about this episode and any predictions you may have. I have one simple question for you, and I really want to know your guys' thoughts on this. And seeing as how I spoke about this decision from a moral perspective, I want to know if you think this decision was the best for humanity from a survival standpoint. Or both, the more the better. And if you're a manga reader, let me know how you felt Studio Wit adapted this episode and what parts do you think they could have done a better job with, if any. And please, feel free to discuss anything I forgot to mention in the comments below. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, it helps the channel out a lot. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, the link in the description. And of course, subscribe to the channel and make sure to hit that bell. That way you don't miss a video and can continue watching Attack on Titan and many other series with me. Apologies for how late this week's videos are going up, by the way. I've had audio issues out the ass this week. This is like my 4th time recording this commentary, so hopefully everything sounds good. But again, thank you for your patience. And with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.